Even though Democrats fiercely opposed it, Supreme Court confirmation hearings for Amy Coney Barrett are underway as of this morning, and Democratic Senator Patrick Leahy shared what his constituents told him they were frightened about. Take a look.
I've heard from them often and loudly since Justice Ginsburg's passing. They're scared, Judge Barrett. They're scared that your confirmation would rip from them the very health care protection the millions of Americans have fought to maintain, and which Congress has repeatedly rejected eliminating.
So is this an issue that the Democrats need to hammer home this week? Because there seems to be a lot of issues people want to talk about with her. What do you think, Sonny?
I think no question this is an extremely important issue, because if you look at the numbers, Whoopi, we know that the election is right around the corner, right? 22 days. 74% of voters want the Senate to take on COVID-19 relief before this SCOTUS nominee's hearing and confirmation. We know that the Senate Republicans have the vote. She's going to be confirmed. So these senators are talking to the American people. They're talking to the voters. We are in the middle of a global pandemic. And the bottom line here is that the case challenging the Affordable Care Act is going to be in front of the Supreme Court November 10th. And with Amy Coney Barrett, Judge Barrett, on the bench, she's been very, very critical about the Affordable Care Act. She's been very critical about Chief Justice Roberts' decision, the 5-4 decision that kept it together. And so Republicans are banking on the fact that she will be part of the majority that will tear down the Affordable Care Act. And remember, and I think Joy has mentioned it many, many times, 133 million Americans with pre-existing conditions that are covered by the Affordable Care Act will no longer be covered, and we are in the middle of a global pandemic. And so we're going to be hearing from the Democrats on that committee over and over and over again about the ACA.
Sarah, what are you feeling about this?
I'm feeling frustrated, discouraged. I firmly disagree with this being pushed through for many of the reasons Sonny mentioned. I think right now it's not even about how close we are to an election, which is an argument in itself. It's that we're sitting in the middle of a pandemic and we can't even get stimulus checks agreed upon so people could get help and put food on their tables. But the other two reasons I disagree and am frustrated about this process is, one, I just fundamentally disagree with Judge Amy Coney Barrett's judicial philosophy. I'm more of a living document person, and she's an originalist. And the next reason is I just don't like when the court is imbalanced. I think the Supreme Court is at its best when there are 4 people that are originalists, 4 living document, and 1 swing vote. And this is changing the balance to a 6-3, which is no balance at all. And I'm feeling overall just kind of hopeless, because this is a lifetime assignment that we can't undo, and she's very young, so this will be a decades-long consequence, and it's just hard to watch. But add it to the list for 2020. So.
Now, Senate Republican Senator Chuck Grassley warned against making Barrett's religious history an issue. Take a look.
Some of my colleagues may once again try to misrepresent and outright disparage Judge Barrett's religious beliefs and affiliations. In 2017, they suggested Judge Barrett was too faithful or too Catholic to be a judge. One senator asked whether she considered herself an Orthodox Catholic. Another told her, "The dogma lives loudly within you, and that is of concern." Let me remind everyone that Article 1 clearly prohibits religious tests for serving in public office.
Right. So I hope that Senator Grassley remembers exactly what he just said. But is it fair to ask about her religious background? I don't know. What do you think, Anna?
Of course. Look, I think every judicial nominee should be, unless you're an atheist, you should be asked how and if your beliefs are going to influence your judicial decisions and the way you view issues. Look, most of us on this panel have been raised Catholic. We know that that some of these issues that come in front of the court are actually issues that are taught to us, and it is a fair question to ask because we are a country where there is a separation of church and state. But I also think that Republicans are making an issue out of this to try to make her into a victim of religious persecution that does not exist. I mean, let's just understand that they are saying Democrats are coming at her for being a Catholic. Okay, well, the Democratic nominee is a devout Catholic who carries rosary beads in his pocket. The Speaker of the House is a devout Catholic. And 6 out of the 8 sitting judges right now, justices at the Supreme Court, are or were raised Catholic, including those nominated by Democrats, like Sonia Sotomayor. So this entire she's being persecuted for being too Catholic narrative is a red herring by Republicans, even though it is very much of a legitimate issue to ask because we have the separation of church and state.
And what do you think, Joy? How do you think this is going to play out?
Well, I think that they're going to get her through because they have all the cards in their hands. You know, they have the majority. And unfortunately, we're going to have to wait for time to go by to see where the Trump party starts to really fail and all of these people who are trying to put the clock back to 1955 are going to be taken out of office because the tide is going forward. 62% of Americans want to keep Roe v. Wade. 67% of Americans want gay marriage. These guys are in a white panic, a male white panic, and they want to put the clock back. Listen, I'm old enough, I remember the 50s, okay? A woman couldn't even get her own credit card in those days. Forget about getting an abortion. I had a girlfriend in high school who had to fly to Puerto Rico to get an abortion. It was so difficult to get anything in this country at that time that was legal. You had to put your life at risk in those days. The gays were terrified of coming out. You know, this is what they would like to do to the country now, to put their reactionary Rush Limbaugh ideas into the country. And the country is not there. It's not there. So it's a losing battle, but a temporary win for them.
Yeah, well, you know, I agree with you. We cannot go backwards. And absolutely, these questions are important because if you're going to make decisions about gay marriage, I need to know that you're making them as a judge and not as a Catholic judge. I need to know that you're making decisions about abortion as a judge and not a Catholic judge because this idea that there is some freedom, people don't have freedom of religion is ridiculous. There is no law in this country that says you have to believe Catholics or Jews or Zoroastrians. Nothing says you have to. What the problem is that if you use your religion, as they are trying to do, to say get rid of gay marriage, then you are violating my religious beliefs because I believe you have that freedom. And the separation of church and state would really make sure that these kinds of things don't happen. And